Okay, so now we've got the basics of subtractive synthesis out of the way, we can really get going on the topic of how to create killer leads. So the first subject I'm going to cover is single oscillator lead sounds. Most people make the mistake of thinking that a lead sound should have about 63 oscillators and several filters all hammering away at the same time, making this huge, great, fat stereo sound. That may be true for some types of lead, and we'll get into that a bit later, but by no means discount single oscillator lead sounds, because they often give a really good contrast to multi-oscillator lead sounds and big fat sounds. In fact, single oscillator sounds can be some of the most in-your-face and most effective tools in your arsenal of sonic weaponry. They're much more focused, and they can provide again a good contrast between stereo and centrally placed sounds. Single oscillators sound great when combined with distortion. They distort particularly nicely, and distortion is always such a great thing to use on leads. So there's lots of reasons to not discount single oscillator sounds. So we're going to explore this now. So I'm going to demonstrate tweaking up a lead sound using Vanguard. I'm using this because everything's on one page and I don't have to go into modulation matrices or anything to get anything working. It's all tweakable from the front page. The sound is pretty much the sound that we finished the subtractive synthesis section with, and it sounds like this. Right, so that is not what you call a killer lead sound. It's just a pretty dull sound. Okay, so the point of this demonstration is to show that it's not about the sound itself, which is another reason that you should learn to program sounds yourself. Because often on synths, in shops in particular, and hardware synthesizers, the patches are programmed to show off the best aspects of the synth and to give a wow factor. So you think, wow, that's fantastic, I'll buy that. But there are actually often not a lot of use in tracks without some kind of shaping or tweaking to make them fit inside your music. And most of the time it involves, certainly with patches which are aimed to impress, it involves skinnying the patches up. So making them less wide, less stereo, taking some effects off. Because these sounds as demos are supposed to sound fantastic like a whole track on their own. Once you get to actually combine several of these sounds together, you suddenly find out that there's no way they're all going to fit together. Often I read things about, hey, this is a really fat sound and this is a fat sound. Well, you need skinny sounds as well. You need small sounds. You need to pare away or hack pieces off sounds so that they fit together in a mix. So without any further ado, I'll jump into this demonstration. And the main point of this demonstration is to show that you can just start off with the basic building block of a single oscillator and a filter. And then by using lots of little tweaks, you can make something that sounds very dull. I mean, if you heard that in a shop, you'd think, well, I'm not going to buy this synth, that sounds lousy. And by using lots of little tweaks, you can make it come alive. It's a matter of lots of small tweaks on lots of different parameters. In this case, I'm going to tweak, I'm going to make it monophonic from polyphonic. I'm going to add some glide, do some filter envelope tweaks, adjust the stereo spread a bit. I'm going to use 2 oscillators to spread it out a bit. I use a bit of distortion, a bit of key tracking on the filter, a bit of delay, a bit of LFO modulation on the filter cutoff, and some other tweaks. And you'll see that the combined result comes together to form something that's hopefully bigger than the sum of the parts. So to start off with, you'll see down the bottom here, I've got this part that I've made, which isn't a particularly interesting part. It's a 1-bar part. Okay, so it's not going to set the world alight. Right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this voices section down so it's playing monophonically, because at the moment the notes are running into each other because it's polyphonic. You see on these parts here, these notes are overlapping, so you can hear the notes are playing together. Now, they're not. So I've just made it monophonic. I'm going to switch the glide on. Can you hear that? Slides down from that note to that note now. And then again from that note to that note. I'll turn the glide off. On. So it makes it a whole lot more snaky already. Now I'll put this to 8th note glide, just so you can hear, emphasize it a bit more. Slower glide. Faster. Less fast. Sounds pretty good on there. So, low pass filter, cut off. Okay, so let me get a kick playing and let's change it to a band pass. Add a bit of delay. Bit of resonance. Bit of key tracking. So that opens. That's opening at the bottom now. As it goes down, it opens. Okay, so bit of distortion. This is just a basic saw wave, by the way. Bass. Bit of filter. Depth. Spread. So that should kind of give you an idea of what you can do with a single oscillator. Of course, you can go into different oscillators. Here we are. Look, let's try this one. Different filter.